Good afternoon, everyone. We're here to talk about an update on online SNAP at our farmers markets and with our farmers. Unfortunately, our speaker is running just a smidgen late, so we'll be starting up as soon as he arrives. And once again, we're just giving our speaker another minute or two to join us, and then we'll get started as soon as possible.
Would that be 2 smidgens?
Okay, we have a speaker.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I figured something came up.
For some reason, it wasn't in my calendar right.
Oh,
So.
I'm glad we've been talking about it the last few days. Okay, everyone. So today we're going to be talking about an update on our SNAP Online, how that's coming along. Today we're going to be hearing from Phil Blaylock. He's the executive director of the National Association of Farmers Market Nutrition Programs, and he's the creator of Market Link, which links farmers markets and direct marketing farmers to SNAP. Market Link is also has a contract with USDA to build out online SNAP processing for markets and farmers. And I'm going to turn it right over to Phil and let him tell us what's going on.
Okay. So is Amy on?
No.
Okay. I wonder why she's not on. She was her and Mike Parker were going to come on and talk a little bit about more of the details. But
I am here, Phil, but I don't have anything prepared.
Well, actually, we have something prepared, and I thought Amy was going to do it. So I'll just talk a little bit about where we are in the process and what we are presuming the next steps will be. Some of that is, of course, dependent on how F&S decides they want us to streamline everything. So we originally started out with a plan to have 3 or 4 different platforms. As we got through this, though, that number shrunk to 1, and we have looked at even some more. But fortunately, the folks are very adept at what they're doing and very workable. And quite frankly, they are the one out of the entire group that we were selecting from that, in my opinion, have an affinity for actually the farmers and the purpose of the project, and not about just making money. Just to put it frankly, that's and you know, most of you have heard me before and know the way I feel about it. So I am so we are through the testing part with regards to the platform itself. That platform will be grown by, and I'll let Mike introduce himself a little later and go through it. I've got to get to the talking points that.
Okay, Phil, Amy is on here now if you need to
Amy,
confer with her.
Hi, Amy. Can you share your screen?
Yes. Do you want that presentation?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. Give me 1 second to pull it up. Sorry for being a few minutes late, everyone. I'm coming from another meeting that ran a bit over. I'm gonna pull it up.
So Amy's going to pull up. We had a PowerPoint. This PowerPoint is I've changed it around a little bit. Amy, make sure you pull the one that I changed.
Mm-hmm.
And to they don't usually allow me to touch presentations much, but I figured that they should know by now that if I can access it, that they need to isolate it from the main part so that I don't mess it up. But this is part of I won't go through all of the pieces, but because most of y'all know us. Does anybody not know who the association is? All right. So this project for the online section, Amy, if you'll go to 7. If you go, so as y'all know, Novadia Group is the equipment provider that we're utilizing, and Grown By is the online vendor that we're using. Before I do that, I asked Diane if I could talk a little bit about our program, our Farm Bill goals. So go to the next slide, Amy. And what we'd like to see and what we're pushing for. We will need some help if we're to accomplish that. But to go over our objectives in the Farm Bill process, we are trying to move the FMMPs into a consistent, uniform authorization and funding position. We want to secure more deliberate funding over time. I'm on the next slide now, Amy. To allow the programs to expand the scope of the programs so that all nutrition programs are utilized across the programs and not individually. As you know, in administrating these programs, sometimes the states are limited by the rules for the larger programs, and the farmers sort of get moved through and the markets sort of get moved through the process individually, and it becomes cumbersome. So we're trying to make all of the programs have this umbrella acceptance for farmers. That has become especially evident with regards to electronic delivery. And as I'm sure y'all know and have heard, we are having trouble nationwide finding folks to print and process the checks. So we're having to move to an electronic version. That has been coming for some time. It has finally hit in force. And as uncomfortable as it is to make changes, we are finding that we have to. So we need to retool the language a little bit in the Farm Bill so that we can make sure that the states have the resources they need, that the farmers have the accessibility and the resources they need for electronic benefits to occur easily and across all programs. And finally, the last major goal of our legislation is to add veterans as an eligible entity. That's especially important for New York because y'all have been running a veterans program over time, but now this federal funding will be allowed for that, and it would actually, it's modeled off of New York and Connecticut's programs to begin with, so it should allow your programs to just fold right in with the current offerings for farmers market nutrition programs. As you know, Senator Gillibrand sits on the committee, and you have one other new guy in the House, and I'm just hit the wrong button. So if any help that y'all could provide with us by showing support for our programs or communicating support for our programs to Senator Gillibrand's office as well as Congressman Langworthy's office would be very, very beneficial to us as we go through. If you like, and Diane can share my contact, I can send you the actual language that we have put forward that will help us. I can answer any questions on it and go over that. But I did want to take the first part of this opportunity to go over that and ask for your help as we go through the Farm Bill. Right now, it looks like the Farm Bill's probably they're trying to get something marked by Christmas, even though some of the current Farm Bill will end in September. Most of these will continue in some way, shape, or form because of their authorization. All right, now back to Online SNAP. I'm sorry to diverge. So as I said, we're in the final testing phase with the pilot. We're actually currently, we've got 2 or 3 farmers that are in line that we're testing. FNS is testing currently. We've already tested internally. And at that point, we think that FNS will approve a shorter version of application process, and that the Grown by teams and the Market Link teams will be able to walk the farmers through fairly easily. And currently the grant will provide 1 year of processing in the e-commerce platform for any farmer that wants to apply and do this. So I'm actually going to turn it over to, before I do that, are there any questions on any of the Farm Bill stuff?
Yes, I want to know, I run a nonprofit organization. On our board is 3 farmers.
Right.
And so the thing is, would that qualify us as the farm to be doing that, to be doing your program like that?
The online SNAP program? Or
yeah.
So currently they would have to sign up as an individual farm. Keep in mind that what we are doing is setting up the transaction process in the back. We have talked with Grown By about how we can create links within the platform to so that the market itself or the farmers could sell, the transaction occurs. It would have to occur individually currently, but we're looking at a way to do that so that the customer sees it as the market, but the transaction occurs directly to the farmers. And I don't see that changing a whole lot as far as the transaction process. I think over time, once we get that set up and started, we'll get better at it, because it'll take some time for us to work through the kinks associated with that. FNS has been supportive of that idea, with the catch that we first get the platform established, we get it set up, and we start doing transactions so that we know we've worked all the bugs out from the transaction side. Any other questions on what I've talked about already? I'm gonna let Amy go through the online grant process, and then let Mike talk a little bit about Grown By. And
could I ask a question?
absolutely.
Does this also work? I'm not sure if you said, but does it work for CSA programs? Like if you are a nonprofit but run a CSA program with a farmer, could this qualify?
So I can hop in
Go ahead.
here. So if you are a direct marketing farmer doing a CSA, then yes, is the short answer. If you are someone that's aggregating, then we'll have to look at your case specifically to determine kind of ownership and some of the other percentage things, because there are different categories. I don't know if you already have an FNS authorization or not, but there are at this point, I think, upwards of 12 different categories under which you can become authorized to accept SNAP. So we would have to figure out which of those categories is appropriate for your situation. But this grant is available for the direct marketing farmer category and the farmers market category currently. So the short answer is we can help you work through it.
All right, thank you.
So going to the next slide, this is a very high level overview of the online SNAP grant process. So you would complete the eligibility assessment, which you can find at marketlink.org/apply. It's very straightforward, but be sure to indicate that you are interested in online SNAP as part of one of those questions as well. And then if you are already on the Grown By platform, please let us know that as well in the comment section. The second piece of the equation is to get your authorized SNAP retailer number, otherwise known as the FNS number. So the process currently is that you get your what's called sometimes referred to as your brick and mortar FNS number. And then after you have that, then you can submit the next level of application, which is to become an authorized online SNAP retailer. That is a different number. So you will, after getting through this whole process, have 2 FNS numbers. And of course, we will help you get this set up. But for example, if you have a point of sale device, then that would be your brick and mortar FNS number attached to those transactions. And then your online retailer number will be attached to your Grown By transactions that happen through that platform. So that brings us to the 4th step, which is setting up your Grown By site. And then the last step is completing testing with USDA. We are, as Phil mentioned, in the final stages of confirming how all of this is going to flow with USDA. So it might change a little bit, but this is kind of, again, the 10,000-foot level of how it will pan out for you to become an authorized online retailer. And then Mike, do you want me to pull up the Grown By site or share your screen to walk through folks with anything, or do you just want to talk it through?
I don't know if we need to get into as much detail as like looking at the app on the presentation. Like I'm happy to answer any questions about it, but I could give like maybe just the 30-second pitch of what Grown By does.
Sure.
Cool. So hi, everybody. I'm Mike Parker. I'm one of the co-founders of Farm Generations Cooperative, and I'm also a member owner. So I'm a farmer in New York State in the Cooperstown area. I raise grass-fed beef there. But back in 2018, when I was working at the National Young Farmers Coalition, I worked with the executive director at the time, Lindsay Lusher-Shute, who runs Hardy Roots Farm, a CSA in Hudson Valley in Germantown, New York. We were working on this project to develop kind of like a solution for farmers who are looking to do online sales, direct marketing farmers looking to do online sales. And we actually incorporated it as a cooperative. So we're a producers cooperative that is actually like a small startup tech company running this platform called Grown By. So Grown By can be used by any direct marketing farm in the United States to set up an online e-commerce presence. We offer CSA management tools and invoicing tools, and yeah, so farmers are using Grown By for anything from managing like, multiple 100-member CSAs with flexible pickup schedules and all sorts of features built in there, to much smaller scale operations who are doing like once a week pickups in their backyards of like things that they're growing in their gardens, and lots of creativity in between. There's people using for agritourism, people doing offering pre-ordering for farmers markets. So I guess that the things to understand with Grown By is that it's like the direct marketing farm has the account essentially. So we're really built and designed around farmers running their own accounts, not necessarily farmers markets, but as Phil kind of alluded to, like we're very much open to, especially in response to implementing this online SNAP program better, figuring out how we can have some kind of like farmers market usage, or at least direct marketing farms present their products to customers in like more of a farmers market friendly format. So it's like you could search by farmers market and find all the farms that can sell there. But anyway, yeah, I'm happy to ever, we do one-off workshops with organizations if you want to, learn about using Grown By and what kind of models it serves.
Thank you very much, Mike. And I realized in my rush and haste to get on, I didn't introduce myself either. So my name is Amy Crone. I am the project manager for MarketLink, and I'm based in Maryland. I also have a small farm here, but I'm working to implement the equipment grant as well as the online SNAP grant as part of the NAFMP team. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Phil.
So that is the overview of where we are at. We are currently waiting for FNS to finish their certification of the first farmer, the first 3 farmers. And one we think will be done this week, at which time there will be an announcement, a formal announcement. Y'all, you're hearing all this before anybody else does. So, we're hoping that everything is going to go through and FNS is going to approve it and move through. Of course, we have had several hiccups over the last year, but we think we've worked all of the bugs out and are moving forward. So that's sort of where we are. I guess we can, Diane, I don't know if there's anything specific else you want us to address, but we can, and we'll be glad to take any questions and try to answer those.
I think, Phil, we were just looking for an understanding of where we are in the process. And do you have any kind of time frame where you think it will be able to start rolling out for all farmers? And where is farmers markets in the process? So,
as I said, I think that before we can really do markets, we will have to get the farmers individually signed up so that we can do the transactions on the backside. They will have to go through the process. The first steps are pretty quick. Getting you the brick and mortar sign up, the equipment. If you're already there, if you already have that, that's pretty easy. We would just need to, it will be somewhat difficult if you're classified differently than a direct marketing farmer or a farmer's market. So we'll have to figure out how we're going to approach that with FNS, because one of 2 things would have to happen currently. You would either you would have to reapply and get a direct marketing farmer classification under a different number, or they would have to reclassify you, which is currently a little bit hard to do with the way the STARS system for FNS works. So we're discussing that and trying to figure that out. We don't have any farmers right now that are in that situation. We did have one in the beginning that we were trying to go through early, and we sort of pulled that back until we could do transactions. Diane, if they approve this one this week, that'll be the first one, and we'll make the announcement at that time. We'll be ready to roll. The second part of going through the process of setting up your farm on the online platform and testing those transactions or certifying your specific farm site is a little more in depth. Right now, it's not at a point where we can make a lot of shortcuts because they're not allowing us to. We hope that as we go through this and there's start to be more and more that they'll accept the shortcuts that we recommend.
Okay, but every farmer doing the online SNAP is going to be going through the Grown By platform, correct?
At this point, that's the only one that's approved.
Right. Okay.
It's a two-step process. Not only do it, as most of you know, or may or may not know, I'm sorry, I'm assuming you know this, online SNAP requires a separate PIN certification process through one of the accepted PIN solutions that's online now. So there are only two of those. And because of that, not only do you have to be on the Grown By platform, you also have to establish an account. In our operation, our project is using WorldPay because that is who we contracted with. The other one is AccuLink. So that's a little bit of a process to get that lined up and started. And so that's what makes it cumbersome, quite frankly. And the reason that they're requiring one of those PIN solutions, excuse me, is because of online fraud, because of fraud in the programs and the ease with which online you can do fraud online purchases, even though it's not a big transaction amount. They're requiring all of that stuff up front, which we understand because it's a whole lot easier for someone who's doing fraud online to do it from remote areas. So that's why. So the PIN solution actually sends multiple messaging. So when that transaction occurs, that card number is entered. It requires multi-messaging, API, multi-site. So the PIN goes across in one message to one site, and then the transaction or card number goes. And that way it's moving on different paths, so no one could steal it with one by intercepting one of them. And then they marry in the back on the site, and that's how the transaction occurs securely. And I know I fumbled that up a little bit and probably confused you more, but that is why online SNAP is a little bit harder than just signing you up for regular taking SNAP with what we call card present transactions.
So, and you said, and maybe I misunderstood this, but this would not necessarily be through Total Pay Go. It would instead go through WorldPay.
It has, yeah, that transaction PIN solution occurs through WorldPay. It doesn't go through Total Pay Go. Is not associated at all with the online part.
Okay.
Any other questions?
If you'd like, yeah, go
Ask
ahead.
about incentive programs. I mean, this is probably more towards the farmers market side, obviously, but would this system allow farmers markets to apply incentives to purchases? So the double up food bucks, any of those kinds of programs?
So we have not set that up initially, mainly because that wasn't part of how they built out the online process. But yes, that is our next, that's in our next list of things to add. And I don't know if Mike's even smiling at that, but because we've talked about, okay, we've done this, we're getting this first step, we're almost certified, and now we're starting to look at others without even doing transactions yet. So in other words, once FNS is satisfied that we can do normal SNAP transactions, then they'll entertain us moving to add-ons such as incentives. But yes, that is one of our intentions.
And I can also chime in with regards to incentive programs on a separate note. We're also separate from the online. We are piloting incentive programs in a couple of places around the country this year. So we'll have more information to share on those. And I see Heather is here. She's the program manager for the Maryland Market Money Program, and they are one of the groups that's doing one of the pilots. So, and I see Christina's on here as well with that team. So like I said, that's a separate topic, complicated in other ways, but just to let you all know that we're working on those pieces as well.
And that is for the Novadia app.
Right, separate from online, but as an additional tender type through the Total Pay Go app.
Any other questions?
Please feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question.
And I'm sorry, I wasn't looking to see if there were questions in the message area.
Not yet.
I just want to throw out there, not a question, but I don't know if I'm thinking from the perspective of like somebody that works with groups of farmers and maybe doesn't have something myself to do next after this conversation. Like the thing that I would suggest is that as Amy kind of showed in the slides, there's several steps in this process. And I think Phil's kind of expressing that there's a bit of a roadblock right now with this USDA certification of the first like few farms that we're putting forward because they were already grown by users. They're already SNAP authorized retailers. So like that's kind of our roadblock to deal with and find a more efficient process for. But if you're working with farmers that you think would be interested in online SNAP, there are several steps in the process that both between Market Link and Grown By, we're happy to help farmers directly through one-on-one. So that's doing the Market Link eligibility assessment to figure out what kind of entity you are, and doing the USDA application to become like a bricks and mortar retailer if the farm hasn't done that already, and also setting up a Grown By shop. Like all of those take a little time, but they're free services that our organizations are here to help work with people one-on-one to get through. And they're all necessary prerequisites for going on to getting your WorldPay account and getting your online SNAP certification. So we're ready and willing to work with people, organizations and farms one-on-one with that now. So if you are looking for like a takeaway or a next step, like those are all there.
Absolutely. I would affirm and support what Mike said. And in the chat, I popped the two links. So the Market Link apply, marketlink.org/apply, and then the Grown By app site too. So you can get pretty far down the road before submitting that online retailer application as the final step. And so if you are interested in moving forward, we would highly recommend that you get those two things going now, and we can help you through the process so that once USDA gives us the green light for the go ahead to bring on more farmers, we can do that right away.
Any other questions?
I have one. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yep.
My name's Glynis Valenti. I'm the director of Southwedge Planning Committee in Rochester. And we have a little market that's entering its 17th season now. And I guess I'm confused a little bit, just because I don't always handle the market business aspect. Our market manager does a lot of that. But what you're saying is the first steps are getting individual farmers signed up for this program. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the second step would be signing up farmers markets like ours to do online sales, like advanced sales or whatever, and do kind of a pickup form for shopping. Is that correct?
So right now, that's not a step.
Okay.
What we would do is once the farmers in a market
Mhm.
are signed up so that we can route the transaction,
Okay.
then we are looking at developing the platform so that it would group those farmers, and then you could have individual transactions. The customer would still have to do his transactions on a farmer by farmer basis,
Okay.
but the market could you could set the market up as the pickup point, or they could, I guess, feasibly deliver it, set up
Okay.
the delivery process. Yes.
Okay.
But that has not been approved by FNS yet.
Right. Okay, that's fine. That kind of answers my question. We were looking at a little bit different model, I think, for what we had hoped to do this year, what we were doing this year. We'll probably stick with that. But okay, very good. But in any case, it would always be through WorldPay, correct?
So you would have to have an account with WorldPay. It's through
Right.
Grown By is the platform.
Mhm.
The transaction goes through WorldPay as the third party processor in that,
Right.
because they are the only ones that have an approved PIN solution, online PIN solution. There are only two
Okay.
companies that have one currently.
Okay.
So you don't really see WorldPay. The farmer would, because the farmer would have to have an account set up with them so that they could route that transaction.
Okay.
But the customer wouldn't see WorldPay at all.
Right. Right. No, I know. I've to be honest, I've been trying to get away from WorldPay for the last year and use TotalPay exclusively. So, okay. Thank you very much for answering the question. Thank you.
How soon, I saw something on one of the pages about the redemption online. How soon would the farmers be able to get their money online?
If for an online transaction, it would be 24 to 48 hours before you got paid.
Okay, so they wouldn't have to file anything. It just automatically would go into their account.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
It'd be just like your credit card settlements that you have now.
Any other questions? This is your time to get your answers. Well, not hearing any, then I want to thank you all for coming and listening in today. Thank you, Phil, Amy, and Michael, for joining us and giving all this information. If you want additional information on how you can help with the Farm Bill, as soon as I get the information from Phil, I'll share that out with everyone. So thank you
Thanks
all
for
for
having
coming.
us.
Thank you, Diane. Thanks, everyone. I hope y'all have a great season.
Bye-bye.